All right, guys, we're back. Today, I'm going to show you how I edit this picture. We're going to clean it up. We're not going to do anything too crazy. I want to make this look as clean and as simple as possible. So I'm just going to show you how I edit it and clean it up. And then I'm also going to show you how I get rid of some of the stuff in there that I don't want in Photoshop as well. There are a few things that are going to be a little bit tricky, so make sure you watch the full video. All right, we're going to get into it here. So first things first, right off the bat, I do notice it's dark. I underexposed this. It was kind of an accident, but I'm glad it worked because you can see the sky is exposed properly. And once something's blown out, like if it's overexposed, you can't really get any details back out of it. But if it's underexposed, thankfully I shoot with Sony, so I can bring the shadows up and I can actually get a lot of those darker spots to look normal. So first things first, we're gonna bring the exposure up. And now, obviously it looks like the sky is overexposed, but because it was exposed properly when I shot it, we're gonna be able to get the details back down in the sky in a few minutes here. So what I'm looking for here is exposing the subject properly, and then I can work on all the other stuff afterwards, right? So first things first, exposure up. Now, I'm wearing these blue light glasses, so it does throw off the white balance slightly, so I'm just gonna take those down. Obviously it cuts blue light out, so I wanna just make sure that my white balance is set properly. Actually, you know what? The stock white balance is pretty good on that. We're just going to leave it. So we're good. Now, the separation between the shadows and the highlights is a little softer. So I'm just going to add some contrast. Yep, that works. Now, I'm going to test this. So this is what I normally do in my workflow. I'm going to bring the highlights all the way down just to see what I have to work with. So I don't like bringing the highlights down in the cars because I find it makes them look very flat. Like when I was just starting out, I would bring the highlights all the way down and I found it just made the images flat. And since I stopped doing that, I can really see it in other people's images. I know when the highlights are pulled all the way down because the images do look a little bit flat. They look a little lifeless. I'm not saying it looks bad, it's just not my style. And if you're watching this, it's probably because you like something that I do, so there's that. So what we're going to do is reset the highlights by double clicking that. We're going to go up to the subject mask and just select the sky. Now we can bring the highlights all the way down. We get a little bit more detail in the clouds. I'm going to turn up the contrast and the texture a little bit in the sky, and you'll see it just kind of doesn't do anything too crazy, but it just adds a little bit of you know, a little something extra in there. So anyway, that's that. Now hit enter, get rid of them. We're going to come, and I'm actually going to bring the shadows up about 50% on the entire image, and then bring the exposure back down a bit. So see, we're starting to get a little bit of something here. I'm going to bring the black down. And so what I'm doing here, I'm looking at more so the overall image as opposed to what the subject is like, because in a few minutes here, we're going to go in and select the subject and do our own adjustments on that. So I'm going to turn up the dehaze a little bit. And that's going to just slightly sharpen the image up. Actually, I'm going to bring the texture down. This is something new I want to test out. So I'm going to do it on this image. So bring the texture down. It's going to soften the image up as a whole, right? So you can see like that. It's a little bit sharper, and then you bring it back down. And it just kind of softens the image up a bit. Now what I want to do is, when I select the subject, I'm going to bring the texture up a lot more than I normally would. So then we're going to have more of a softer environment, but the subject is going to be sharper. I don't know if it's going to look good or if it's going to look weird, but we're going to try it. Okay, now we're going to bring the vibrance down about half and the saturation up about half. So I like the look of that, except the greens here are a little bit too vibrant for me. So we're going to go down here and bring we'll start with the saturation. Bring that down about 25%. Yeah, that's all we need. We don't need to go crazy with that. I don't want to take away from all the other greens in the photo. Okay, now what we're going to do, we're going to select the masks again. We're going to add a subject mask. And that hopefully should just select the car. It might select some of the trees or the bench or something. No, did a pretty good job. So slightly bringing the exposure up on that. Yeah. It looks a little too overexposed there, but then when we bring the black down, you'll see it evens itself out. But first, I should have brought the shadows up because that's what I plan on doing. So shadows up 25, 30%. And then we're going to bring the black down. And then the exposure down a bit. Just now that we've got our base for what we want. Okay, and I'm going to bring the texture up, like I said, about 50%. Actually, exactly 50%. So, boom. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And then I'm going to bring the sharpness up about 25% as well. Hit enter and see how far we've come so far. I'm going to bring the exposure down on the overall picture just a bit. I want this to be more of a moodier vibe. And it's a little too bright to have moody vibe. Yeah. Okay, now we're going to go down here to the color grading, and I'm going to introduce a little bit of blues into the shadows. Not a whole lot. We don't want to go crazy, but just enough that it kind of gives you a little bit more of a moodier vibe. There. Nothing too crazy, right? Look, as long as I've been doing this, it's still tricky for me. Normally when I edit a photo, I'm not like consciously thinking of each step that I do. So for me to explain it as I'm editing it, it's a little tricky. So bear with me. Like I said, this is my first year doing this. I'm still getting used to the whole process. It will get better over time, but I think this looks pretty good. I'm actually going to bring the white balance on the overall image up slightly. Yeah. I like that. All right. You know, now we're going to go here to the mask again. We're going to add a linear gradient mask. So watch this. I'm going to teach you a little something here. So to add one of these, you would click and drag. Right? You click and drag up, and then it allows you to kind of come at it at an angle. But if you click, hold shift and drag, you'll see it straightens up. So it's completely parallel. It's 90 degrees. If I go left and right, it still stays at 90 degrees. So just a little something to, if you're really like picky about symmetry, even in something as minute as a linear gradient, it can help with your OCD. So we're going to bring down the exposure on that a little bit. Fuck yeah, look at that, eh? We're getting there. One more thing I want to do before I bring it into Photoshop, maybe a couple things. We're going to bring the green hue over to the bluer side, just because it is a moodier photo. And then I'm actually going to grab this tool here, this little dropper on the saturation. And this particular spot of green's been giving me issues for some reason. I'm just going to drag that down a little bit. And enter. Yeah, that looks pretty good. One more thing I am going to do, actually, I'm just going to add an S-curve because I just want the contrast to pop a little bit more. So what we would do in the S-curve, we would do 3 dots in each quadrant. So there's one in the top right, one in the middle, one in the bottom left. So if you don't know how the curves work, you should have gone through this section already, but this top right corner is the highlights, the bottom left corner is the shadows, and then everything is in between. So obviously the upper portion is also highlights, the lower portion is also shadows. So we're going to bring this down and bring down the shadows a little bit, and then we're going to bring up the highlights a little bit. It just adds more contrast. Like there's so many ways you can add contrast into a photo, right? You can bring the highlights and the shadows up and down, the blacks and the whites up and down. You can do an S-curve. We're just going to take a little bit of all of them, okay? And I already don't like it because the shadows are too dark, so we're going to reset all of that. And I probably won't even use this in the Instagram video, but if you're watching this in my course, you'll see it because I want to show you my entire process and kind of how I do things from start to finish without cutting anything out. Okay, one thing I'm going to also do is just frame it for Instagram before we bring it in to Photoshop. I'm just going to fix the horizon level a little bit. It's a little off, very slight. I'm a little crackhead with that, so. You know what? I think it's a little, see how it's a little noisy? Anytime I hear a car outside, I have to check. Okay, yeah, it's a little noisy. You see there's a lot of grain in the shadows. So I'm gonna go down to noise reduction. You could click on denoise, but we're gonna do that in the Senna video since I fucked up and I shot rollers at 10,000 ISO. We don't need to talk about that right now, but that is a little more taxing on the computer. My computer's pretty slow, especially when I'm screen recording these videos. So I'm just gonna go to manual noise reduction and bring this up, I don't know, 30%. And then you'll be able to see the shadows. Look at that. Like, there's a lot less noise now. And then I'm also just gonna bring the sharpening up on the overall image a little bit too. Usually when you denoise it, it softens the image up and we want a sharp, crispy image. So now we zoom back out. Fuck, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Okay, I'm happy with that. Now we let it load because apparently it's not done. Is that too soft now? I'm gonna bring the sharpening up a little bit more too. All right, so we're gonna right click, edit in Photoshop. I'm gonna grab a bubbly while this is loading because it's gonna take a minute. Shit. Oh, I got it all over my screen. Fuck. This is all the shit you don't see that I cut out for Instagram, but because you guys are in the course, you're gonna see all of it. Oh my god. I try to stay as professional as I can, but I'm actually an idiot. People just think I'm not because I edit it out. Maybe they do, I don't know. Anyway, we're in Photoshop, so what we're gonna do, yeah. Oh, that's my editing staple. I always drink bubblies when I edit. Which is why I always burp, because very carbonated. So we're gonna hit L. So my goal here is to get rid of this electrical box, this bench, this dude, and this other part of the bench, and this little leaf on the ground. So let's start small. I'm gonna use L, like polygonal lasso tool for all of this. Fuck, you know what? I'm also gonna get rid of all these little dots, whatever they are. So maybe we'll switch. We'll click J. And that'll bring you here. So the spot healing brush tool. And all you have to do is click. And then Photoshop takes care of the rest. So click, click. And this only works on like smaller stuff. Like you could try and highlight all this and it probably will do a somewhat decent job, but I prefer using the polygonal lasso tool for bigger stuff because you can get really specific. Like you can highlight exactly what you want and that uses AI. Whereas this tool is just like a built-in Photoshop. I don't want to call it AI, but like algorithm. So it's not as good at coming up with replacing what you're cutting out, if that makes sense. Do you know? My cat wants to come say hi. All right, well, I think that's good. Okay, now we're gonna hit L, and we're gonna zoom in on this dude. I'm gonna get rid of him first, then it'll give us straight lines to work with. Look at that, eh? He's just fired up. Just seen a Ferrari hanging out. I think he's got a beer in his hand, got a sword on his hip. Welcome to Kelowna. So we're just gonna highlight this guy. Oh, he's got a mullet too. Fucking right, this guy came to party. Oh, shoosh. All right, buddy, we gotta get you out of here. Cat hair. No, not right now. He only comes and does this when I'm filming. So does Turbo, but I think he's sleeping because it's the middle of the day, so we're good. Okay, and then Do this. Juno, stop it. I see you trying to jump over here. You little mongoose. Okay, and then we'll click generative fill, same as always. Generate, and then we'll just wait and let it do its thing. No, quit it. Hey, you little mongoose. You little mongoose. He's not a mongoose, he's a cat, but he doesn't know that. What the fuck? I've never had this happen before. Apparently it just replaced it with other people. That's not what I wanted. So we're gonna go up here to this prompt and we're gonna do remove Juno, frig off, you're distracting me. Person and generate. And we'll see how this works. What the fuck is going on? AI does some weird stuff sometimes, man. Not just made him smaller. So this is part of it, right? This is the stuff you don't really see. Jesus. What the No, I know you want attention. Not right now. Okay, well, this guy's the smallest of the bunch. So fuck, man. I guess we'll try and get rid of him. Stop, man. Get out of here. Fucking distracting. Okay, this doesn't work. So we're going to do Command D to deselect. Something you know what, let's try and... Okay, so here's something that is kind of annoying with layers and masks. So I'll show you. If I hit J, I'm switching to the other brush tool to see if I can just get rid of this guy. So I hit J, you see it only highlights, like, it doesn't actually go on the image, it just goes around. So that's really annoying because you'll see the subject, the layer of what I selected originally with my polygonal lasso tool does not get selected, right? So that's where the dude normally was. This used to piss me off because I was like, what is happening? But all you got to do is unlock the background by clicking the lock button and then hold, so the background layer is selected, then you hold shift and click this layer, you right click and go merge layers. And now it's just one layer. So in the eyes of Photoshop, there are no more layers or separation. So now I can go and I'll be able to highlight this dude. Just get him out of here. Juno, I'm going to get this fucking squirt bottle out. One more time, I'm going to get the squirt bottle. There, he's gone. Okay, so that is that. Now we're going to hit L again. And we're going to do the same thing to this bench. And one thing you got to be aware of too, this selection, this generative fill here is not going to be perfect. It's not going to put what's actually back there. But most people, actually all people, no one's actually going to know what's back there. So don't freak out if it's not right. Because no one's going to look at that. They're looking at the car. So one thing I like to do when I select tricky subjects like this, to give the AI a better idea of what's in the background, instead of just connecting this here and getting rid of all of that, I'm going to get selective with it. And I'm going to tell AI exactly that I only want this stuff to go, right? So it'll be able to, it's just less taxing on the AI, and it lets the AI know that, hey, I want this whole selection here. Fuck off. So this way it shows Photoshop and AI that you want to keep the grass in the background and this little sidewalk and whatever. Now, do generative fill, generate. Look, you can stay down there, that's fine. Just don't jump on my desk. Fucking look at that, eh? Couldn't get rid of a person, but it gets rid of all that flawlessly. Fucking AI, man. All right, so that's done. For the last piece of the puzzle. So also, if you're zoomed in and you want to move the canvas around without zooming out and then zooming into a different spot, hold space, and then you just click and drag, and you can drag the image wherever you want. So we're going to go here, and then we're going to do Command plus plus. Oh, Juno's right at my elbow. I'm trying not to skirt him away because he's not really in my way. He's just distracting. Now he's pulling on my arm, and now you're going to get sprayed. Just go to sleep, man. It's the middle of the day. All cats do in the middle of the day is sleep. This is what it normally looks like. I just usually cut all this stuff out so no one sees it. Okay, and the more selective and specific you are with these generative fill search or fucking selections, whatever, the better result you're gonna get. See what I mean? Like instead of me just shortcutting around this, I'm gonna do this. And one thing too is when you're selecting stuff around a car, do your best job to not like go in on the car at all, because it'll add like a weird little like I guess it'll just change the lines of the car up, and you don't want that because it's gonna get a little funky. I don't know what I did there. I don't know why I went all the way down here, but generate, and then if this works, this is done. We're gonna save it, bring it back into Lightroom, and then I can export using my normal Lightroom settings. Fucking right, man. Look at that. Look at that. And if I really wanted to make it clean, I'll do it just for the sake of this video so you guys can see it, because I want you to learn how to do this kind of stuff. So actually, I don't need to do that right now. So I'm still on L. We're gonna select, I'm just talking about all this little brush and this dirt on the side of the photo. So we'll do this. Generative fill, generate. Oi, what are you doing? There. And then you got a couple options. I think I actually like that one the best, so we'll just leave it at that. And then Command or Control, if you're on a Windows like a weirdo, S. Being on a Windows is like using an Android, you know? But I will say, you can build the shit out of a PC in ways that you cannot even come close to on a Mac. So they have their pros and cons. I'm just a Mac guy. I prefer Mac, and I have an iPhone over an Android, and I've had both. I've had Windows computers, I've had Androids. For this business and for media and everything, for me, Mac is just simpler. I don't, hold on, it's bugging me. Oh, that might be bubbly stains on there. I'll clean that off after this video. Yeah, for me, it's just easier. Oh, fuck yeah, look at that. Yeah, Mac, the operating system is easier. There's no like drivers to update and all this other bullshit I hear people talking about. And I could count on one hand how many times my stuff's crashed on a Mac. There we have it, folks. So I'm going to cut this video up and still put it on Instagram, but I'm just going to give people on Instagram like the short version of it. Whereas you guys get the full in-depth, like this is everything that I do to change the photo. So there you go. This is how the picture started, and this is how it ended. So a lot cleaner. By no means is this like the perfect composition or the perfect lighting or, you know, anything. I shot this photo, it was shot at f4 in 2022. May 28, 2022. So over 2 years ago. That was, I wasn't exactly 100% at what I was doing. That was before I had my G Master lenses, so it wasn't super sharp. But I think for what I had at the time, it worked out great. And there you have it. So that's how we do that. And scroll down, you'll see the next video, because right now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more of these to get through today for you guys. So there you go. If you want to learn how to shoot and edit more like this, comment the word, comment or DM me 0 to hero, and we will get you set up. I'll send you over some information, and we'll see if you're a good fit for the program. So until next time. And for you guys in my course, I'll see you in the next video, obviously, because you get everything, because you're in here and you're fucking sick. Yeah.